The president of Bolivia, Luis Arce, inaugurated the first industrial lithium carbonate plant with a production capacity of 15,000 tons per year. After 70 days of the Israeli side, thousands of Palestinians are killed after the occupation bombed residential areas throughout the Gaza Strip. The government of Niger announced a transition agreement before the deadline set for the intervention of the economic community of West African states. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll begin with the news. Stay with us. The president of Bolivia, Luis Arce, inaugurated the first industrial lithium carbonate plant with a production capacity of 15,000 tons per year. The investment for the construction of the plant exceeded $110 million, and it's located in the municipality of Yupi, where the Unisol plant is. The Bolivian president said that this action is part of the program for the industrialization of lithium and comprises a mixed investment of $2,800 million with the participation of Chinese companies and the Russian corporation Rosatom. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador inaugurated the first stage of the Mayan train, a word that will be a reference to boost the economy and tourism of the southeast region. The president informed that the Mayan train will travel through the state starting in Mexico City and ending in Quintana Roo, and asked that prices of tickets for this new transportation system not be excessive. López Obrador also highlighted the work of thousands of workers involved in the construction of the train.
It gives us great pleasure to be here with you in Campeche. On this truly historic day, because we are inaugurating this section from Campeche to Cancun. A work that in its entirety comprises 1,554 kilometers. We're now going to inaugurate the Campeche-Cancun section, then Cancun-Palenque.
In Peru, the people demonstrated against Dina Boluarte administration for the death of 10 citizens during the protests that took place 1 year ago in the Ayacucho region. The Ayacucho People's Defense Front called a strike in memory of the deceased and demand justice, dignity, corruption officials to leave office, and freedom for those detained in the framework of the struggle for the defense of democracy. A mass was held this morning in memory of the deceased, and it was attended by relatives of the victims. The Argentine State Workers Association agreed to carry out a progressive struggle plan in rejection of the shock therapy measures implemented by Javier Milei's government. The union organization demanded the immediate activation of all the bargaining and negotiations in the public sector and called for direct and forceful actions before the end of the year. With a handshake in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the president of Guyana, Irfan Ali, and Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, sealed an agreement to resolve a territorial dispute over the Essequibo in accordance with the 1966 Geneva Agreements and international mechanisms. The head of state held a high-level meeting broken by the president of Brazil, Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva, and the prime minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, with several facilitators, including the president of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, Russ Vizcarrik. As part of the date of dialogue between the governments of Guyana and Venezuela on the territorial dispute, Raul Gonsalves, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, assured that both nations are committed not to using force to resolve the dispute over the Essequibo territory.
Guyana and Venezuela declared as follows. 1. Agreed that Guyana and Venezuela directly or indirectly will not threaten or use force against one another in any circumstances, including those consequential to any existing controversies between the two states. Agreed that both states will refrain, whether by words or deeds, from escalating any conflict or disagreement arising from any controversy between them. The two states will cooperate to avoid incidents on the ground conducive to tension between
After
them.
the high-level meeting in St. Vincent and the Grenadines with the President of Guyana, the President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, returned to his country and points out that defending the truth of the country through dialogue and diplomacy pathways was monumental.
It has been worthwhile to defend the truth of Venezuela, to raise the flag of truth, to raise our historical reasons, and to seek with the Bolivarian diplomacy of peace the path of dialogue, of understanding, to manage the historical controversy as it should be through the path of dialogue, as it is the title of this agreement.
Let's take a very short break, but remember you can now join us on our TikTok account at teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. After 70 days of the Israeli side, thousands of Palestinians are killed after the occupation bombed residential areas throughout the Gaza Strip. The Israeli bombardment was concentrated in the center of the city of Gaza, most of the victims being women and children. The Tel Aviv regime's attacks were carried out with military drones, preventing ambulances from reaching the wounded. In the north of Gaza, two of its main hospital centers were also targeted by the Israeli forces' airstrike. In Palestine, Israeli forces have killed more than 3,679 students in the West Bank and Gaza after bombing nearly 278 schools in the area. The Palestinian Ministry of Education reported on Thursday that at least 82 Palestinian students have been kidnapped in the West Bank since the beginning of the Israeli attack last October 7th. And after 70 days of continuous bombardment by the Israeli occupation forces, sport authorities denounced the killing of at least 85 Palestinian athletes. The Palestinian Football Association reported that among the deaths are 55 football players and 30 athletes from other disciplines, and among them are 18 minors and 37 teenagers. They also denounced Israeli apprehension and incursion in Gaza and the occupied West Bank. A program of the United Nations announced on Friday that the side of the Zionist army in Palestine is condemning thousands of Gazans to have a triple feminine. According to the report, 9 out of 10 citizens in Gaza have nothing to eat. Carlos Audo, Deputy Director of the United Nations World Food Programme, said the situation is desperate. Scout added that the occupation army concerns on indiscriminate bombardment is preventing the effective distribution of humanitarian aid. The Israeli army reported the suspension of the soldiers who broke into the Jenin Mosque and some Jewish signs. According to the military authorities, the soldiers were immediately withdrawn from operational activity after reviewing videos and an initial inspection of the incident by commanders. The army expressed that the behavior of the soldiers is serious and goes against the values of the Israeli Defense Forces. In Israel, hundreds of protesters demanded in front of the Kiryat military base in Tel Aviv after the Israeli army announced that it had killed 3 Israeli hostages. The Zionist regime acknowledged to have mistakenly killed 3 of their own Israeli hostages during an active combat in Cheyaya, Gaza. Israeli Defense Forces spokesman Daniel Hagrad assured during a press briefing on Friday that the IDF shot them thereafter mistakenly identified it as a threat.
Just today, we were at the funerals of 3 abductees. And just today, we were informed of the death of 3 more of them. You have so much power for the cabinet, but you only understand military power. You only want the military. It won't work for you. We will not be silent while more and more abductees die in Gaza. Deal now, deal now, deal now.
In this context, demonstrators take part in a rally in Lebanon's northern city of Tripoli in support of Gaza, and ongoing battles between Israel and the Hamas militant group in the Palestinian territory. Since October the 8th, the day after the Israeli-Hamas war started, the frontier between Lebanon and Israel has seen deadly exchange of fire, mainly between the Israeli army and the Iran-backed Hezbollah movement, which says it is acting in support of Hamas. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that human rights are under attack around the world while praising those who defend them. The statement was made during a ceremony marking the Universal Declaration of Human Rights' 75th anniversary.
Human rights are under attack around the world. Conflicts are raging, with appalling consequences for civilians, as we are dramatically witnessing every single day with the immense deaths and suffering in Gaza after the horrors of the 7th October attacks. Inequalities are deepening. Anger and poverty are rising. Women's rights are stalling and in some cases going into reverse. Civic space and media freedom is being rolled back, and new threats are blossoming, from catastrophic climate disasters to artificial intelligence, which holds the potential for immense possibility, but also for immense peril. I urge all member states to use the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration to strengthen their commitment to making human rights a reality.
Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to join us on our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on the screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. One financial break, don't go away. Welcome back. The government of Niger announced a transition agreement before the deadline set for the intervention of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. The information was announced by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Togo, Robert Dussey, who points out that as a result of the mediation, the content of the proposal and the moment of the transition were agreed upon. The military board in power since the coup d'etat perpetrated in July. In the agreement was also established a new date of mediations for January 2024 with the participation of diplomats from Togo and Sierra Leone. Chad voters go to the polls on December 17 for a referendum on a new constitution in a key step towards elections and the return of civilian rule promised but postponed by the ruling junta. Chad votes on a new constitution ahead of promised end of military rule. A large section of the opposition and civil society in a Central African country are calling for a boycott.
It is a very decisive moment for Chad, and it is time for Chadians to make up their minds. After the painful period we have had from 2020-2021 until now, we need to decide what type of constitution we want. My wish now is for all Chadians to come out, so that we can decide together what we want for the future of Chad.
I expect this election to be transparent and peaceful, and for the results to be announced without any cheating. All the things we're used to in Chad, we're going to have really cordial atmosphere, because we have already gone through a transition. This transition will have to be completed under very good conditions.
Preparations are underway in polling stations and on the streets of Baghdad as Iraqis get ready to head to the polls to choose provincial councils for the first time since April 2013. Campaign posters were seen on the streets on Friday, days ahead of the December 18 vote. In Baghdad's Karada neighborhood, security personnel are deployed outside polling centers to guard them. The Indian Ministry of External Affairs denounced the increase in illegal recruitment of Indian nationals to work in Eastern Europe, the Gulf, and Central Asia. In a statement, the ministry detailed that it has detected charges of between $2,400 and more than $6,000 by individuals operating without the requirement licenses for such procedures. In Japan, more than 1,200 tons of dead fish are found allegedly as a result of the release of radioactive water on the coast. After months of radioactive water threat at the Fukushima nuclear power plants being dumped into the sea, the authorities have announced the launch of an investigation to determine the cause of the mass mortality. The International Energy Agency registered a new record on global coal consumption during the year 2023. The energy institution said on Friday that global consumption reached its highest level ever after 8.53 billion tons of fossil fuels were burned. The entity also detailed that figures for this year 2023 will surpass those of 2016 as years with the highest temperatures. And we have come to the end of this news brief, but before saying goodbye, we want to thank our Caribbean audience, especially the audience of Trinidad and Tobago. We're pleased to share our newscast and contribute to provide alternative news sources to the latest world events. You can find these and many other series on our website at telesurenglish.net, and also use us on our socials from Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English, I'm from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.